You can decide in your mind that you want it, and you'll go get it. You'll do whatever it takes to get it, and it will happen because you put the desire behind it to go get it. You decide that you want it, whatever it is. It's $1 million business. It's $1 billion industry. It's $1 trillion industry, whatever you want. You want that yacht on the water. You can manifest it. You can make it. You create your reality. You create everything around you. You choose to live your life by the information that you know. And when you know that you cohabitate with the higher one, God, universe, source, whatever you want to call him, you chose that. You chose that. You chose your life. Everything that you went through was a choice, good or bad, or ugly. And when you come to acceptance on that, then you're not really worried about anything. And you know you're capable of so much more than where you are. And sometimes it takes time to recalibrate to where you are to get where you want to be. And you can't be scared because things that you went through, you want to hide because you're scared that people are going to judge you or hate you or discriminate against you or not like your content because whatever the reason is. And at the end of the day, when you look back at your life and you know you did everything in your power and everything in your choices to live the best life you could, it really doesn't matter what somebody said about you because they have a perception of you. They might hate you the minute they see you. They might get triggered by what you say. But the reality is, they don't like themselves because you are a mirror image of them. And that's why they get triggered. Because something you do or something you did makes them feel a certain way. And it goes back to their belief system on they believe a certain way. And that's why they don't like you. And ultimately, it really doesn't matter if people like you or hate you or love you or want to persecute you. It kind of doesn't matter. Wherever you are, whatever situation you're in, if you do 110% and you make it better, inch by inch, mile by mile, yard by yard, kilometer by kilometer, you'll get where you want to go. You want to be famous, you want to be somebody special. You already are famous, you already are somebody special. You know that in your heart. Now, the right people will align in the right timing. Everybody will come around when they're supposed to come around. and they'll want to be a part of whatever you're building. They'll want to be a part of whatever you decide because they have similar goals and they have certain characteristics that you want to work with. And they'll want to come along with you and say, hey, we like your idea. We like your blueprint. We like your decision on whatever you're doing. And you'll be like, okay. So the divine told you that you're supposed to come meet with me on a certain time and place to get where we're supposed to go on the goal that we're supposed to accomplish. And it's all written the way it needs to be written because that's how the divine wanted it to be. And some people are going to say you're stupid and hate you and talk shit about you because of what you're supposed to do. And that's fine. Everybody's going to do that. Everybody has haters. They're either jealous or they don't think they're capable of achieving what you're supposed to achieve. And that's fine. Because ultimately it doesn't matter that people have opposition against you or what you think or what you believe. You can only talk from your experiences or what you've gone through or what you are going through currently. And when you have the strength to move forward inch by inch, mile by mile, kilometer by kilometer, you get what I'm saying. And you'll decide that you want to do something different because you don't like the outcome that's around you. You don't like what you're seeing in your 3D. You want something. Now, if it's a new car, a new house, a new boat, a new wife, new kids, whatever the situation is, it doesn't really matter. What you have to decide is what are you willing to do to get there? Because a lot of people can do it the easy way and start an internet site and sell things and become a millionaire in 24 hours. But what did they give up? Their dignity, their loyalty, their honor, their self respect for $1 million on some site? Or you want to get that $1 million with honesty, integrity, love, and no harm to yourself? And that's what a lot of people, they don't understand. They're like, yeah, if I just take a couple pictures and do this and do that, I'll get where I want to be. Because you see it all over the internet. So you have to decide. The internet is good, bad, and ugly. You have to choose what you want to do. So you have morals, obligations, and purpose on what you want to deliver. And a lot of people have done things and then they look about it later and they're like, oh, I wish I didn't do that when I was 18. Because now it's all over the internet. And they're like, hey, such and such a site, can you take this down? And the site's like, no, it's making us money. And the person's like, no, I don't like that, take it down. And the person gets so frustrated because of their past choices that are affecting their certain current choices. But at the end of the day, nobody forced them to do that choice. Nobody forced them to do that. And they chose it willy nilly or out of their own free will to do that. And now they're not happy with it. So at the end of the day, what are you willing to do to become famous? Or what are you willing to do to become a celebrity? Because there are a lot of celebrities that are famous because they did something dumb, or they did a quickie and they're famous. They have millions of followers on their Instagram or their TikTok or their YouTube. But are they happy within themselves? Are they internally happy with who they are? You can have millions of dollars in the bank, millions of dollars in your house, in your cars, but if you're not ultimately happy within yourself, like in your heart of hearts, not happy, what's the point? Because you could go rob a bank tomorrow and become a millionaire and then go to prison the next day and be broke because the federal government took the money away. But was it worth it? So, like integrity, honesty, loyalty, trust, love, are all those things willing to give up so you can get that 35 seconds of fame? Or do you want to build it over time? And it could take you a decade, it could take you 2 decades, it could take you 3 decades, it could take you 4 decades to get where you want to be, where you have the stability to just go to a dealership and buy a car outright, drive it off the lot, and be like, look what I accomplished. I bought a brand new Porsche or a brand new Ford F-150 or a brand new Lamborghini Urus. I bought those things with cash outright that I earned or received for doing my business, for having integrity, for having loyalty, have all those things. And people don't like me because I did all those things. But then there's people on the other end that sold certain parts of their soul and their heart to become ultra rich super fast, and they're sitting in their $1 million mansion thinking, I'm alone. I've built this empire and I have nobody to share it with because everybody around me doesn't like me because it was all built on lies, false pretenses, and fakery. So when you have integrity and you have honesty, or you have the opposite, was it worth it? And that's what you have to decide on yourself, on your own. You have to make your own decision on what you want to do. Because there's a lot of people that made a quick buck robbing a jewelry truck, robbing a bank, and now they're sitting in jail thinking, was it worth it? I got 20 years or 6 years in prison because I stole $100,000 from the federal government and I felt rich for like 5 minutes. And now I have to sit in prison for 10 years because I did something illegal. So is it worth it? That's what you have to decide. Because a lot of people can make money fast and spend it fast, but doesn't it mean more when you've made $1 million or $1 billion or $1 trillion and it took you this minute, this much time, this much effort? So whatever it is, it took you a decade to make $1 million. And you're going to keep making $1 million because what you implemented was a wealth building tool to get you where you are today. And now you can sit in Miami on the beach, drinking a Mai Tai with your beautiful wife and your 4 kids and have integrity because you made money the honest way, the loyal way, the integrity way, or you're a millionaire and all your friends are in prison because they got the crimes pinned on them and you got away by the grace of God, as most people say it. But in all reality, the universe is going to catch up with you and show you how you did things dishonestly. So there's a lot of people in this world that made millions of dollars in a dishonest way, but at some point, if you want to call it karma or goodwill or choices, are going to catch up with them. So whatever that is, like if you look at all the rich people in the world, in the music industry or in a lot of industries, and you see how much money they made, are they happy? And I know it's not all about being happy, but you feel better about yourself when you do the right thing instead of like doing a bunch of wrong things. So, but ultimately you have to decide on your own what you're going to do, because people will whisper ideas in your ear and say, hey, it's brilliant to do that. And you can do this. It, like, I'll give you a tip off where we can, tomorrow down the freeway, we can get that armored truck that's going from bank A to bank B. We could we could blow the axle off so it stops, and then we can cut the doors open with a saw and then put all the money in our minivan and take off and have $1.6 million. And at some point the feds will catch up with us, because when we spend that much money, it's somehow we're gonna make an error and we're gonna get caught, and they'll be like, how'd you guys get, you 8 guys got $1.6 million, like where'd you get that? You guys made that? And like, unless you guys are really creative and you take the money and you launder it through some kind of activity where I guess you could clean up the money, but at some point they're going to wonder how you ran $1.6 million through your laundromat or your car wash. So some people are doing that now and they're making millions of dollars, but at some point they're going to have ramifications of, they're going to have to pay taxes on that, or they're going to have to answer to whoever they need to answer to, if it's the law or it's God or the universe, whatever you want to call it. So You might think, oh, you got away with it now, but at some point, the ramifications are going to catch up with you. So if you know in your heart of hearts that you made your mistakes and you hung out with certain people when you were younger and you did some stupid things and maybe some illegal things, but then you changed and you thought, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Like drink with certain people or smoke with certain people or do those things that I did when I was younger. It's kind of like that is you chose to do those things, so what is the ramifications of it? And there could be a time where you did some illegal activity and you didn't go to prison and you should have. So at the end of the day, you got to count your blessings or count your losses and be like, okay, it could be so much worse. I could be in the ground. I could be in jail. I could be the opposite of where I am now, in the ground, not on this planet. So, however you want to look at it, is you got to look at stuff through a different point of view because it could always be worse, it can always be better, and it can always be neutral. So, when you look at your life over how many years you've been on this planet and say, I've been on this planet this many years, and I look back at the things that I did, and there's things that I wish that I would have done differently. But if I did those things differently, I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have today. So when I was younger, I wish I didn't rob that bank and sit in jail for X amount of years. But if I didn't have that experience, then I wouldn't have what I have today. So I wish I didn't steal those people's identities and rack up their credit card debt $40,000. Like, whatever the situation is, you have to come to terms with it and say, how can I make it better today if I did those things? Whatever, if you did illegal activity or non illegal activity, or you hurt somebody in some fashion, or you did something unethical, maybe you can't change every moment of it, but there's a way around it that you can make good from the situation. So if you did harm another person and you served your time, whatever that is, if you did 10 years or you did 40 years, you did in that situation, you did the wrong thing. Now you can change it and make it right. It might be more difficult because you might be labeled as a felon or as a whatever you want to call it, and it might be more difficult to get employment, or it might be more difficult for somebody to trust you. But at the end of the day, you choose your reality. You choose what you're going to do next. You can do a bunch of wrong things and get the ramifications that you have, or you did all those wrong things. How am I going to do it different today than I did it yesterday? So yesterday I got in a car accident and I hurt people in the car accident, and I can't undo that situation. But from now on, I can make different choices. I can choose not to go 100 miles an hour on the freeway and slam my car into another person's car and hurt them. And if I did that, I can pay the ramifications of that, where I could get sued, or I might lose my license, or whatever the situation is, but I can make that situation right. It might be crummy for a couple years. It might take a year or two for it to get off my record, but You can always make things better. Even if you did something that in society's eyes is so bad, like taking somebody out, whatever the situation is, whatever the choice was at that time, or whatever you went through in that situation, you can make it better. It might be so fuzzy right now because it's all fresh in your mind and you don't know what to do. But if you sit back and think about it for a little bit, maybe go talk to another person that you trust and has very valuable information on what you should do differently, it might be worth it. Because whoever you are, whatever you've been through, it can shape you in whoever you want to choose to be. So if you've had people do things to you that are really wrong and really hurt you, are you going to go out and regurgitate that same experience to somebody else? So if you were brought up in a household where there's a lot of yelling and anger and violence, and your parents would get so mad that they would throw dishes at you and break the dishes, and you'd be cut and bleeding, would you want to do that to your children? And some people have gone through experiences where they're in such a violent, toxic, um, traumatic household that they're like, I don't want to have kids. I get that. But at the end of the day, you're going to deprive yourself because of one bad experience that you went through. Like, if you look back at your parents, and I'm not saying what they did was right, but if you look at them through a different lens and say, hey, my parents were hurt little children and they only reacted that way because that's what they were taught. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just a place to set the pain on and evaluate it and think, how would I have done things differently if I was them? And maybe I would do the same thing that they would do, or maybe I would do something different. Like, you have to choose. And sometimes you might do things as a parent and be like, shit, I wish I didn't do that. But that doesn't mean you got to go beat yourself up for a decade about it. Or you got to think about it and say, hey, maybe I should, next time my kid does something that I don't like, should I go talk to the stars? Should I go talk to the trees? Should I go for a walk? Like, that's what you have to choose. What are you going to do differently? And that's part of being a parent, is realizing that you don't know everything, and that's perfectly fine. But in time and experience, you will learn what you need to learn in that situation where that kid blew its top off, because you need to learn how to comfort that kid in that situation. That's why the kid, when it smashed its toe and this bone is sticking out of its toe, it's screaming its head off. You have to just hold the kid and comfort it and say, hey, I get the pain hurts. I get it's uncomfortable. It's very valuable that I can hold you at this moment and tell you it's going to be all right. It might not feel that way. It might not seem that in the moment because you're bleeding and the bone hurts, but we'll get through it. We'll figure it out. It will be painful to walk. But if you just tell that child, and that's what some parents don't do, is they don't comfort their child because they were never comforted as a child. So A parent can't comfort a child if it doesn't know how to comfort itself. And that's what some people don't understand is these parents are in the grocery store and their kid is upset because it's hungry or it's tired or it's upset because it didn't get the chocolate milk it wanted, and the parents will just blow up and everybody will say, "Oh, look at that horrible parent." No, have some pity, have some respect, and have some dignity towards that person, that they're doing the best they can with what they know. And that's what some people don't understand is they'll jump to conclusions right away and be like, you shouldn't do that to your child. But weren't you a child once too? And didn't you allow that person to do that wrong thing to you? And then you're saying it's okay, but in all reality it's not? Because, and it goes back to that story of when you were a little kid, you went for a bike ride and your dad pushed you and said, "Hey, here's the balance, figure it out." And then you fell down and skinned your knee, and you then the knee's all bloody and gooey, and it hurts and it stings, and you're just so angry because your dad pushed you, but you didn't have the experience to steer the bicycle or know what to do, so you fell down. And you're going to get mad at the parent because they thought you were ready to just ride the bike by yourself, but you obviously weren't. And you're going to get mad at your father because 15 or 20 years later, you still held on to that and you didn't forgive them or yourself because of that situation when you were 6 years old, and you're 21 years old and you're still angry because of that situation. Like, it sounds so petty when you think about it, but when you get to the point where things that your parents have done are not right or ethical or fair, and you come to terms with that and say, I get it. Now, can I lessen the damage that they did to me? Or can I do something different than they did? Can I change the criteria and make it different? Or am I going to just repeat the same thing like they did? And that's what you have to decide. Is you can be so angry because of a situation that you went through. And then years later, you're like, why did I get mad at that person? Like, yeah, it's almost laughable when you think about it.